Addicts beat. I'm eating like B.
Keep your head up, even though I know you're fed up in life. Be throwing your punches, but you still gotta get up and fight. They low blows, but look, don't let it get you. Cause God, he got a plan, but Satan be trying to get you. I know you feel you're seeking, but folk come to get you. Don't worry about the now, think of the bigger picture. Stay woke and stay focused. Don't let little stuff get you. Don't be scared of the devil when you can square up with. I stand tall, don't fall, I'm a champion. I stand tall, I won't fall, I'm a champion. I stand tall, I won't fall, I'm a champion. Say I'm a champion, say I'm a champion. I stand tall, I won't fall.
I was just at the truck stop and I just went to use the restroom real quick and I come back and he was gone.
Women and children in the state of Georgia. Do you understand?
I'm doing my best.
I promise you, we gonna take care of you.
What do you,
right
why would
now.
you do that for?
Go make that money.
Oh my God, what?
You sat down?
Hey, my favorite person.
Hey. Okay. I don't gotta count it, right?
Nah. You laundered money. I defended you. Robbed, taking bodies. I defended you.
You're getting paid.
I pretty much got tricked. This is not who I am. I'm all about God.
Man, sis,
What's going on here?
you're doing your job.
Oh no! Here he comes. No, baby.
You have to rescue that inner child. You cannot allow yourself or anyone to stop you from being great. Tell my own story, then I'm trying to get her the opportunity to tell her story.
Where were you when I was 5?
And he took me right again. I'm telling you, this park was full of people. When your story is a real story. You know, as a child, I experienced some trauma. Being raped at the age of 7 and left for dead in the park. Truly made me go through some things. Persevere. Beast it. We'll make it. I am. Hey. Welcome. I am Miss Lyric, and I am super excited about tonight. Listen, I was looking at the stream right there, watching everything, and forgot that we were going live. So I wanted to go ahead and bring up my host, Dr. Tina Michelle. Bring her in.
Hello.
You can't hear? I can't. You can hear me? Everyone can hear me? Okay, awesome. So listen, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get started while we're getting Mama Tina back logged on. It probably looks like we're having a couple technical difficulties. She's in lovely Las Vegas, okay, enjoying the CMAs and all of that good stuff. So you guys, she'll be right back on. But I want to go ahead and say welcome tonight and happy International Women's Day. I am super excited about just being amongst some powerful women today and just coming together and expressing ourselves and giving out some great resources and just some great, can I say game today? You guys are going to get some awesome information. You're going to meet some super, super amazing women. And we're just going to go ahead and get back in there. I think my mommy is back on. We're going to try to bring her back in so we can introduce our guest. Hey. Can you hear us? I'm getting Dr. Michelle, Dr. Tina. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, which is terrible.
How can you not hear it with your headphones? Is your headphones too?
Is this your unplug your headsets?
You do.
It's not your iPad. You look beautiful.
Can you hear me?
Yes, and you do look beautiful.
She sounds like she's a ghost.
They can hear you, so it's your headphones.
Yeah.
It's your headphones. Disconnect your headphones.
Which is to.
Let me see. See? Let me see where the panel is.
And this is like, if I'm looking irritated, whatever it is, this is real. This is a healing situation, so I'm not finna front. Straight up. This is my story, my truth. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about it. I've been through some childhood trauma, and it pretty much has had my whole life in shambles. It has been a journey. It has been it's not easy to tell your story when your story is a real story. As a child, I experienced some trauma, and being raped at the age of 7 and left for dead in the park truly, truly, truly made me go through some things that other kids probably wouldn't have to go through. But I believe that it made me stronger. And because I went through those things, I felt the need when I was going through my healing. I knew I wasn't the only one that was hurt. I know that my story is millions of women's story. It doesn't matter background. It doesn't matter race. It doesn't matter age.
My mom, when I was about 6 years old, sorry.
That's okay, honey. Just take your time. And we really appreciate you opening up and sharing to help other people, as I know it will.
Went to live with my mum when I was about 6, and I had to witness a lot of things. Like, my mum had been in relationships where, she was physically abused. Like, I would see my mum get hit all the time and just have certain people come in and out of the house and everything. And it wasn't, I didn't grow up in, like, it wasn't private. It was a completely different lifestyle than I was living with my grandmother. Because my grandmother, at least with her, even though she was divorcing my granddad, but she always kept me clean, and she made sure no one came to the house, and it was just a different type of...
About how old were you at that time?
About 6.
Okay.
About 6.
So very formative years.
Yeah, like, I had to see a lot of... I had to sort of be an adult from such a young little age without even realizing it.
It's important that we are our brother's keeper. It's important that we let people know that they're not alone, and there's life after abuse.
My truth is empowering women, uplifting women with the pain that I suffered growing up as a black woman out of Detroit, Michigan, a young black mother. And that's my purpose, is to uplift women. I loved everybody but me. Learn to love yourself. If my past can help another woman, that's what I want to do. I want to uplift women. That's my passion.
My truth is, I believe in being liberated, empowered, and innovated. My story is, I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, in 22 foster homes, endured sexual abuse, was committed to a mental institution. My father had molested me when I was 14 and took my virginity, and then I ended up pregnant with a child. It taught me to be strong, that I'm able to overcome any and everything in my life, that I'm a victorious person, and I'm able to empower other people with my life and my story.
I was a pastor's wife, the whole stigma of being in church and being a church God-fearing woman and married to a pastor and going through that, and we tend to put the men of God up on a pedestal and not realizing they are just men also. So through that marriage, dealing with abuse and abandonment, those were the major traumas that I dealt with, and it followed me, throughout my life. And also because I didn't have that, I was a daddyless daughter. I had my father and my mother in my life, but he was emotionally unavailable. So I was looking for that love that I didn't get from him in men, and through those relationships were very traumatic. But the abandonment, it really scarred me, like in major ways. How could you be with someone for 7 years and then boom, all of a sudden you're gone? Well, you don't fall out of love overnight, So what happened? You're left with so many questions and no closure. What am I supposed to do now? What it taught me is I have to stand on my own 2 feet. So that's what I tell my daughters now. You don't depend on anyone but God and the ability and the knowledge that He gives you to obtain wealth.
The reason why women empowerment is important to me is because it's all about helping impact that next generation to understand what their potential, their purpose, and their passion is. If we can tap in to help other women like myself to understand this, we can change the world and we can reach many, one person at a time.
And this is what's happening in Lewisville right now.
Hey, that was an amazing trailer. I hope you can hear me now. Can you? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Lyric, you're muted. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
all right. We are here. We are here. We are here.
We
Can
made
you hear
it.
me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I'm excited. That was a great trailer. I'm really proud of the work that you have done to document your story. I know it takes a lot of courage to tell people about really what makes you tick, right? We as women, we're allowed to be a lot of things. We're allowed to be the fixer, the keeper, the rescuer, but we're not allowed to be vulnerable, right? We're supposed to just be strong Black women and just stand our ground. Strong women who just take it, on the chin and keep it moving. But it is our vulnerabilities that actually give us the strength that we need to continue to move forward. So I'm very proud of you. Thank you for sharing that. I know here in the green room, we have a few people waiting.
Yes.
And they have some stuff to talk about on this here International Women's Day 2022. We are in the house. Tell me what's going on in your world first, Miss Lyric. And in case no one knows, Miss Lyric is LaShawn. She is my spiritual daughter, my goddaughter, as well as our production partner down there in Alabama. And Don, who you don't see, makes it all work for all of us behind the scenes. And we love you, Don. What's going on with you down there?
Oh, wow. So it's so much going on. But right now, we are working on an amazing project for sex trafficking. You know that when we started off this year, I was very adamant about putting my films making a purpose behind the films and the projects that I did to help people heal and also to help women tell their stories on television and through films. So with this particular project, I teamed up with a writer, Miss Carolyn Herring Jones, and she had a very touching story on sex trafficking about a play that she wrote about what had happened to her niece. And I just, was like, we have to do a short film on that, or some skits or something to help her. I just wanted to help her promote her project. And we ended up all coming together and decided to, go ahead and make a short film out of it. And it has been a very, very, very amazing project. Just learned so much. So, and like I said, I knew a lot about sex trafficking, but I even learned so much more because of being educated. So I'm just really excited about this. Our film, it releases March 26th. We've been working on it since January, I think. It's been pretty dope. It's been a process, but that's what I've been working on. And also becoming, a real kingdom life coach. Okay. But other than that, that's what I've been doing, and just being lyric. Now you're muted.
When we think about Women's Day last year, we were together. David Cam was on, and Shelly Hunt. I don't know if she's on yet. She said she'd be a little late. And we were talking about trying to move forward in the midst of a pandemic, right?
Right.
Even though I don't know what this demic is that we're in right now, I do know that we have this, we have the wars. We have the rumors of the wars. And as a matter of fact, I have a really good friend right now who's supposed to be flying into the States because he works the Grammys. He does Grammy week, and then he's shooting a movie. And I asked him, I said, when are you going to touch base? I'm here in Vegas. They're doing the Grammys in Vegas. And he said, I'm in an existentialist crisis. They just moved my family to a bunker in Lithuania. Wow. And so this is a real situation, but it's time for us to move forward. It's time for us to pull together as a family of women, all different shades, beliefs, all different ways of delivering content. And I don't know any other way where people can be sort of gathered all in one place from all around the world simultaneously, except for broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I can run 168 hours a week worth of programming and have someone from Turkey, Istanbul, Georgia, New York, Alabama, Peru, Brazil, Iceland, back to back to back to back on a broadcast medium that not only puts the conversation into the medium and sends it out in general, but actually indigenously lands the content in those local communities so we can collect more voices together. So this is exciting to me where, we have Jen and Desiree who are about to come on. Hopefully they're both back there. But I know Desiree is, because Desiree is always ready. Just know that. She's always ready. She is always ready. And so is Jen, but I already saw her beautiful face behind backstage. We have to have the conversations, the provocative conversations.
Yeah.
I don't mean the sad, sorry, pathetic conversations either, but I do believe the conversations that most people are afraid to have, we need to now push the button on them. And we may be nervous about it. We may not even understand how the conversation could be had. But I believe if it's something that's real in the world of women, it needs to be addressed.
Yes.
So is there any way for us to bring our sisters on now?
Absolutely. Bring them in.
Bring them in. Bring them in.
Hey, thanks. I have to wait.
The beautiful Jen Buck. Woo! Happy International Women's Day. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. You guys cut me in Vegas right after a meeting, so I just want to show you where I am. I'm at the MGM. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is my room.
Ooh.
Nice.
Fun. This is the life of Kai. I take no credit for it. It's the life of Kai. But we're here listening to music and everything else. And someone wants to say hello.
Bonjour. Hello, everyone. Wait, this side. Hello, everyone.
Hi, you're amazing. Hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
You look
Happy
beautiful.
International Women's Day.
Yes. And she's going to open us up with our anthem. Are we ready?
Yes. Fun little moment. You guys can listen to my song, Madam. And we can all jam together if you don't mind.
We're going to open up International Women's Day with the anthem of She Khan.
Yes.
Let's go. And let me know if it sounds okay. And Don, can you put us all back on the screen? Can you hear it? Match my technology. You wanna rock with me? Cause I got the juice. You know that it's true. So get out the cut if you can't come through. Oh, so hot. Blow up. Hey, call me madam. Fever. Sweet words to say. Call me madam. I am your queen. So come on. Come on, let me on majesty. Show up. Blow up. Call me madam. Pardon me, sister. I'm a go-getter. If that makes you bitter, you need to move along, please. Back where I'm from, you see, girl. Call me a prophecy, 'cause I say the truth. You know that I do. So get with the vibe or go back to school. Show up, blow up. Hey, call me madam. Fever, sweet words to say. Call me madam. I am your queen. I call you free. Conquer with your majesty. Show up, blow up. Hey, call me madam. I am your majesty. Don't you want me to be your majesty? I am your majesty. Don't you want me to be your majesty? I am your majesty. Don't you want me to be your majesty? I am your majesty. I am your majesty. I am, and when we rise to the top, you be the prayer for the ground. That's in my mind, I lose control. I was always meant to climb and go back up. No. We're the reason we go. This is my glorified. It's the peace we keep inside. Show up, blow up. Hey, call me madam. Fever, sweet words to say. Call me madam. I am your queen. So call me free. Conquer with your majesty. Show up, blow up. Hey, call me madam. Call me madam. Call me madam.
Woo! Not that one. Love you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you. Love you. Mwah.
Yeah, I'm playing that every morning when I wake up now.
Isn't that like a cup of Joe for your ears? That's like
Killer.
a cup of coffee for your ears.
Just awesome.
So, I wanted to jump in and do this pop-up right now because there's some things that are happening, and I hope I can censor myself. This is a brand new iPad, so I have no idea where to look. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring it out. Like, it's 5 minutes old. 5 minutes old. So I wanted to jump on and have this conversation because I've been talking about you guys, and you don't even know that I've been talking about you guys. I've been talking about the conversation you have, the diversity of the conversation, the different angle, the timeliness of the conversation, and what it means to me, right? Many people know that in 2016, I received President Obama's very last award, right? I received the the Martin Luther King Drum Major Award for volunteer services. And yes, I was excited because it was President Obama's last award, but I was more excited that it was the Martin Luther King Drum Major Award, right? Because when I was a little girl, I had a Dream black and white picture book. Do you remember that I Had a Dream black and white picture book? And it had his picture on it. Then it had pictures of his funeral, pictures of the assassination. And I must have been like 7 or 8, and Jen has heard this story before. And when I saw these pictures, I saw Yolanda, Bernice, Martin Jr., and Dexter. I saw the kids by the coffin. And I was thinking, like, where's their dad? And their dad was in the coffin. And it hit me so much that I wanted to know more about him. So my mom let me play then a vinyl, right? The speech, which is the vinyl. And I saw, it said, black, white, red, yellow, children all play together. And that's such a critical conversation. And it's been such a failed conversation, considering we have not participated in that part of the speech. We ascribe Martin Luther King to the civil rights movement, which is rightly so. And there are many others who came before him and many of those who came after him, rightly so. But I knew him. It was the first consciousness that I had of it, probably 7 or 8 years old. But he said black, white, yellow, red. And many of the civil rights conversations, though they were meaningful, that I have been in, have been specifically around, I'm looking all over the screen, praise the Lord, has been specifically around me talking to people of color about what we need to do, what our rights are, how we need to think. But it was usually a pretty homogenous conversation. It was not outside of our race or outside of a specific group of people who think and feel the same, at least they look the same. So when I met Jen, oh my gosh, I just fell in love with her, even though I think in the beginning we were sort of like, well, who's this chick? Who's this chick? Because I was on this forum, right? Are you there, Jen? Right? We were on this forum that she facilitates on Facebook. And I guess I had a few different opinions about certain things, but yet it was the same thing. I just sort of had my own way of deducting the same information. And then when time came on, oh my gosh, I was just like, this girl is such a beast. I love her so much. She's my favorite person, truly. And then she introduced me to this wild child from the Bronx, New York. And I was like, that's it. That's my sister. I'm pretty sure that she probably is my child from another life, which is Desiree. And when I really heard the conversation that they were having quite competently.
Uh-oh. Hi, Lyric. We lost her.
Hey, I think that we lost her. It must be fabulous being in Las Vegas. I was over here in the conversation like, she's back.
Oh, sorry. I keep pressing buttons on this 5-minute-old iPad, and it takes me right off the screen. But they were having this conversation. First, it started with Jen, and I went to go and support my girlfriend, okay? And I get on, and Desiree was not there yet. And I was infuriated like the whole time. I was pissed off because I felt like she was hung to dry. There was nobody standing up for her. And then there were hard conversations where I learned from Jen that I have been conditioned to protect white women's frailty. I didn't know that's what it was. I was like, she can't do this conversation. This is too much for her. It's not fair for you to have it. I was wrong because Jen Buck has ovaries of steel. And she can handle that conversation better than me even. And it provoked me into freedom. Because then this other chick gets on the line, Miss Desiree, and she's like, I don't really care what y'all have to think about it. This is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go down. And so I loved it because a lot of times I was the only person having the conversation. And many times I was the only, as we say down south, the only pepper in the soup, right? So I had to, suck it in and just be like, I'm saying the thing. I don't care if you like it or not. So to see these women so beautifully, eloquently, skillfully, and with tons of courage facilitate this conversation on a regular basis, I'm excited to say that we get to record them in our studio, and we're getting the dates together this month in Arizona. I'm hoping the 17th and the 18th. That's what's cleared on the schedule, just so y'all know. And y'all got the pictures. You saw the pictures yesterday. So everything is all spit shiny and pretty. So you can have your vision of your green screen behind you. Mm-hmm. But we get to watch this conversation. So Larry asked me, what is this about? White women for reparations, and let's have the conversation. I told him, I said, this is Jen Buck. Did you think I was joking when I said that this chick has ovaries of steel? For real. She's having conversations that most people are afraid of. People who say that they should have the conversations, they let her take all the bullets. I watched it. Okay. Woman of color. And Jen is hanging out there. She's taking all the fire. I love these two together because they work together in such a beautiful way. The dance is so gorgeous. And I'm just like, oh. I mean, individually, they're exquisite beings, just like my beautiful daughter, Lyric. They are exquisite beings individually, but collectively, it is such a force du jeu, as they say, that you really have to sort of get yourself together to realize you're listening and experiencing a different paradigm of conversation within the movement. So that was a long behind introduction, but I love you guys so much, and I just want you to share with us what's coming up. Desiree and Jen, you got the floor.
Go ahead, Jen. Take it off. You know I'm always turning to you. Okay, well, apparently it's to me. Hi, everybody. I'm Desiree B. Stevens, and I have risen to my own TikTok fame having intersectional conversations. And Jen invited me into her space on Clubhouse about a year ago. And now we are doing this space together, and it is amazing. We do Let's Have the Conversation every Thursday, breaking racial barriers. And I really do appreciate doing this work with someone who's not just in it because they think they're an ally, with someone that's just in it because this is the work that we're supposed to be doing, right? This is seeing the full breadth of humanity. So I really appreciate that intro because it was amazing. And I feel the same way about Jen and that dance that we have together. And like my no holds bar Bronx attitude and her I take no shit ovary of steel's attitude. But really still like holding the entire space in love is really honestly a pleasure to work with her and speak with her. And I'm looking forward to more that is coming up. And Jen actually has those details on what that would be.
Yeah, I love what we're doing. You know, I have spent a lot of years doing DE&I work, and I've done this, for 26 years, working with companies and all of that, trying to get their workplace to be more equitable, create more belonging, all the things that we all know is needed. And about a year ago, I started working, doing these rooms on Clubhouse twice a week. And it's really become something that is, it feels like a true north to me. I always knew this was important to me. I've always been doing the work in my work, but we started having these conversations to bring Black women and white women together, because we really believed that if we could get white women to understand the true experience of what Black women go through, and if they could understand that and they could really truly hear that and empathize with that, then the behaviors would change. And if we can get this bridge to actually come together, we believe we could change the world. We believe we can take it back and get to a place of true belonging and true collaboration, which is really what human beings want to do anyway. And so Des and I came together, and we both are really strong in our beliefs. And yes, as Tina Michelle said, I do sometimes have to sit in that space because white women will be too afraid to go into these spaces. And I do get to hold that space for Black women who've been dragged through the mud their entire lives by women who look like me. And I know it's not directed at me. So I appreciate that you guys think I have ovaries of steel, but I am impacted by it, but I'm not personally. offended by it. And so that's really what they were referring to, that I'm okay holding space there. And I'm okay taking those bullets in the moment. And in the end, everybody understands what's going on anyway. So they're not really mad at me and they're not really upset with me. But anyway, it's been an important space, you know, for someone to speak up and to disrupt the patterns. And that's what Desiree and I have decided to do, you know. And so we're going into a direction of doing some keynotes together and going into big events where, you know, the great granddaughter of enslaved people and the great granddaughter of the slaveholder are coming together to do keynotes on this and go into big corporations and big association meetings and do this from stage. And it's going to be very visceral. It's going to be very emotional. The plan is for it to be full of multimedia and two friends who are having raw, real, and hard conversations. And we know that it's all held in love anyway. And so if we can have hard-hitting truths, but still hold the container of love, we really believe that we can start to change the hearts, because that's the only way this is all going to change. We're not going to change people with the mind and the strategy. It's going to be because we touch their heart. And that's what we're in it for. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And you know what I believe? I don't believe in being like-minded. I believe in being like-hearted, right? If it was about being like-minded, then everyone I graduated from college with, we should all be working together. And that's not the case. So, as I sort of like sit with what you just said, we get to imagine the trajectory of that work, right? We get to imagine that what if your soundbite became super contagious? Like, what if you became this pandemic of influence and love and transformation, and people began to take these sound bites that you and Desiree are putting out there and even be provoked where they feel so uncomfortable, which we hope that happens.
Yeah.
We want them to be so uncomfortable that they can't get it off their minds. They're going to talk about it in school. They're going to talk about it on a job, where it's going to sort of get other people talking about it too, and them being challenged and provoked at their heart core, their heart center. So as you're talking about the vision and casting vision for it, I'm imagining a place where everybody's in agreement, right? And they're not afraid to say, I agree with the fact that it should be equal and it has not been equal. I agree with the fact that I have not been a benefactor of that equity or equality in the workplace, in social environments, or even gender parity, right? And I agree that I'm in a position of influence or power, which doesn't necessarily always mean I am a white woman, so I'm an influencer power. Hey, we Latino women, Black women, some of us are just in powerful positions also. And because some of our superiors and the people around us may be of another race, we stay quiet to keep our positions, which is wrong. Right? Which is why I believe in being the owner and not the owned, why I own my own media and I own my own assets, because I don't want anyone to ever tell me that you can't do this because your sponsors are going to discredit you. I don't care. Okay? We'll figure out a way to get it done. We'll figure out a way to pay for it. But the conversation has to go. It has to keep moving.
Yeah.
So I just get to imagine the space, right? Imagine a space where, you know, a woman is sitting there going, you know something, I can do something about this young lady's job, or I can do something about this young man's job. And I can not just pretend that I don't have the entitlement, right? I'm going to use my position of fiscal entitlement or societal entitlement, and I'm going to push forward.
Right.
I see that. I see that now, because you're daring to take the plunge and having a conversation. And we know everything on this planet operates by seedings, right? So you're seeding it out there. Desiree's seeding it out there. Even Tamara's seeding it out there in her way. Then the women who join you in Clubhouse, they're listening, and then their walls are coming down little by little by little. Then soon they're going to go, hey, I'm in this room that talks about that. Then there's more seeding going on. I sort of speculate that in a year from now, there's going to be such a paradigm shift. And that we'll be able to track it to these days, actually from last year. right?
Mhm.
We'll be able to track it to these days and says that was the epicenter, right? And it doesn't matter. Yeah, it matters. Some people say it doesn't matter as long as people get it. No, it matters, because someone needs to get up one day and go, this is how it started with Jen. And I may not be Jen, but I can sort of follow that template. I can follow that model
Mhm.
and do that too. I can do that too. I can be part of the change.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You know who's calling me? Is Les Brown.
Tell him he still hasn't responded to my message.
I am going to tell him that he has not responded. I don't think he'll care though.
No.
But I will let him know.
That's so funny.
But,
Did we lose Desiree, by the way?
Where's Des? There she is.
There she is.
I was in the back. I have my son here as well. So I was like, hey, we need you not to be doing as much.
We do need to talk though about the magic Des brings and the depth of understanding and empathy, and this intuition that's so strong, and the knowledge that she brings is so incredible. She's the earthquake that happened, like I knew I needed to step up, but she came in like an earthquake.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of like to think of myself as a force of nature, though. And right, to Tina's point in regard to paradigm shifts, that's literally my goal, right? Is because all you have to do is get someone to think just a little bit differently. And once they shift that in their mind, right, like my whole idea of the makeshift happen, it's going to keep on going. Like, oh, if you think different, you're going to act different. You're going to speak different. You're going to move differently. So you'll choose different things. It will fall into there, right? Like that heart-centered leading, shift-changing stuff will then go into legislation. It's going to go into treatment. It's going to go into language. It has no other choice, because what upholds this system is agreements. So we need new agreements. It's the agreements spoken. It's the agreements unspoken. It's the hidden biases. It is everything that's happening within us energetically and then being brought into life, right? So when we have that shift and when we make new agreements, we do get new systems and we do create new connections. So that is absolutely the goal, is to shake it up. And you need to be shaken up, right? Because it's a crappy foundation. So you need the earthquake to break open.
Yep.
Myself, you have to shake it up, be the disruptor. And I think this is a time of disruptors, right?
Absolutely.
My daughter did a show recently, and of course, I love my daughter, and I think I love her beyond being my daughter, right? It was the woman that she has turned out to be. She's so light, full of light, but she is such a disruptor, like brazen, just a disruptor.
Yeah.
And so even things that were meant to be disruptive have to be disruptors, because they become like these little enclaves of bullies of people who look like them only, right? So she performs a lot in WeHo, which WeHo we know is the LGBTQIA community for LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's cisgen. And so usually it's not a big deal. She sort of, parties there, dances there. And she goes to this club opening, and the owner invited her, but the people working said, "You don't belong here. Why are you here?" And it was so offensive to her soul, because she's never experienced that, even as a Black girl, right? Someone saying, "You don't belong here. Get out of here." She experienced that because they said that she was not gay, or she wasn't gay enough, right? And so here she is going, wait a second, like, I'm fluid, and I'm more than an ally. Like, I love who loves me, and I'm always in support of. And how is this guy going to be mean to me and my entire team and say, get out, like, get out? The owner was appalled, but this is the blessing of it. She came to me. She was so disturbed, and she said, I love WeHo. Like, those are my people. My friends are non-binary, Why wouldn't I belong there? And I said, you're a disruptor. She's like, well, what does that mean? That people are going to be mean to me? No, you're going to make people think differently. And a good disruptor is going to make change. She got a phone call, I think the very next day. The texting started throughout all of WeHo that this girl got treated so poorly. And the owners of the clubs in WeHo decided to do a meeting to say how backwards is it that we are discriminant against cisgender that love us. We can never let that happen again, that a cisgender will walk into one of our clubs, and because we don't accept either the way she looks, because they have a racial problem too, apparently. One side of the block is considered black cis, and the other side of the block is considered white cis. I didn't know that. She brought that all to light in one night. That these things had to change. And in one full swoop, it was disrupted. That's what we all have to do, right? Not even trying to, but living and speaking our truth, it's going to happen.
Yeah. If you show up authentic, there's no other choice. It forces an authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Like if I show up as I truly am, I am making space for you to do the same. So you don't have to become something else. Just be who you are, like, because I'm good, because I'm who I am. So it forces this space of authenticity and really a deeper self-reflection. Like, well, what have I been putting on these airs or these masks, or what am I doing this for? When
Absolutely.
I can really be with me.
And how has it helped you, right? What's the price of inauthenticity? Most people would think it's too expensive to tell the truth. No, it's too expensive to lie. You can't afford not to, because I remember just holding certain things that I thought just had to be, right? It just had to be. And I couldn't change that. And I remember feeling that over the period of time in my temples, like the pressure in my temples, having a stomach ache. And every time I had to engage this conversation, I had a stomach ache. And really, it had to do with music, right? I was a classical musician. And so the first flute was never a girl of color. And one of the first flute players, and we were traveling, we went to Europe, we went around the world. She was an Asian girl, and they would not let her take that first seat. And I kept hearing people say, well, that's just the way it is. It's never been any other way. You're not going to go to Oxford, England, and have this Asian girl take the first seat. No, we're playing Strauss and Chopin. There's no way. And I remember feeling to myself, this is making me sick, where I'm sitting here next to Nancy. Her name was Nancy Ho. I'm sitting next to her, and I'm feeling bad. Because that's the same thing as the African-American experience, right? There's this thing that says you can't do it. But the difference is, what I recognize at such a young age, she had no language for it. See, being raised within the civil rights, a family that fought for the rights of people, fought for freedom. My mom, pumped the power fist with her Angela Davis afro. I was already a convict by 2 years old, right? Because I was already in jail for protesting the war with my mom. So I was a convict at 2. So I have language for it. Nancy actually had absolutely no language for what was happening to her, because it was an unspoken offense. And I was able to give her language in that moment to say, okay, we're all the way here. At the time, we were in Oxford, and we were going to Lancashire. And these are the things you should possibly say. And then we didn't have internet. We didn't have an email. So it wasn't like we're going to have a quick conversation. I could go back and forth with my mom. And so I would ask my mom, and my mom said, okay, is she on the same program as you are? That means it's American students have an exchange with Europe, with Europe playing classical music. There are some things that they cannot do with discrimination from America to Europe. And she was able to write her a letter. She was able to stand for herself, and the game changed. That was disruptive. But I remember feeling every day as I was just like, well, I'm happy to just be in my seat. I'm happy to just have the position that I have. And that's not being acceptable to me. One of my girlfriends, Anika was from Ghana, and she would say to me all the time, be happy that you're able to be here. Be happy. Just mind your business. Be happy. I'm like, that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. She has no language for it. I have language for it because I was taught this is racism, this is racism, this is unfair, this is inequality. And when you see these things show up, this is how you show up. This is how you handle it. She had no language. So what I see you guys doing is taking it to the next level, where we've had this homogenous conversations over a period of time. We get to now go across disciplines, across races, across genders, and have real conversations of change. Because is it really change when you're only talking to people who are like you, who agree with you, who sound like you? It's really not.
No.
It's actually complacency.
Yeah. And like Des often says, it's lazy activism. When we end up, sorry, Des.
We get words
shared
from Des
brain
all the time.
This is how it works.
I don't want to see any trauma porn. I had to write that down.
Yeah.
Get on.
Then
I don't
lazy
do
activism had to write that down.
Yeah, I don't do anything that's not going to challenge you. Like, it's meant to challenge you, like you said, right? And like, to some of the points of what you were saying is that is exactly why, like, the work needs to be that deeply intersectional. Here was the Asian woman person going through something without the language, and Black liberation liberates everybody. Because those civil rights that were fought on behalf of Black people benefited every other marginalized group, right? And the whole shut up and be quiet while we're suffering, or while another person's suffering, is literally supremacy culture at play, because it tells you, you're good, you're fine, right? And that's not okay. And that is exactly what Jen and I are trying to have conversations about, is that, like, breaking down supremacy culture, the tenets that uphold it, the actions, the behaviors, the choices, the decisions, and then saying, how does that play out in your life? How can you change that just in a simple way? 1 or 2 ways to shift that in your life to absolutely make a worldwide impactful difference. Like Tina said, being a disruptor. And that is ultimately the entire goal of Make Shifts Happen, is to be a disruptor in a really healthy way where you can hold space for all of the people that are oppressed underneath supremacy culture.
Okay, I have a new word now, supremacy culture.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what I could say, so I didn't want to say
Look, if it's the truth, it's the truth. What I believe, if it's your truth, it's your truth. What I believe is that we have had a wonderful period of time pre-Trump, okay, where we had understanding and we learned tolerance, we learned not to bully, we learned what bullying was, and then we got the biggest bully in the world become the president, like the biggest. So we had no language for it. So I'm sort of in the middle someplace where I'm like, yes, there are unfortunate ways of expressing ourselves sometimes, but it's always going to come from a place of our truth. And some of those ways that we might get offended by is probably the crap we haven't dealt with ourselves. And we need to be confronted. So always be, walking in eggshells. Oh my gosh, I'm going to offend you. There's certain things that are obviously offensive, but they're not so obvious to everyone. It's culture.
Well, and that's it. That a lot of people, for instance, come into these discussions that we have every single week, and they come in with all their qualifiers. I am married to a Black man. I have a Black brother. My best friend's Black. All of these things. I love Black people. And then all of a sudden, within minutes, just a few minutes, you start hearing them get corrected that what you're doing right now is part of the problem. And the minute they do, the white women inevitably, who came up with the qualifiers, start saying, why are you yelling at me? Why are you angry? And then tears always ensue, right? So we are in these conversations where there is this real strong unconscious bias. And it is so deep, and they don't even realize how deep. When you look at, Des, you can talk about this, epigenetics, and how far this generational trauma and generational abuse goes, right? They don't even realize what's going on. And once they do have these conversations, immediately they fall back into the old tropey behaviors of, the behaviors that always got them out of trouble with a spouse, crying, I didn't mean to, making people feel bad for them. All I was doing is standing here. So it's untangling that. And that's part of what Des and I do. And it's hard because people we all know, sitting here having this conversation, it's really important that we have these really deep philosophical and honest, bone-honest conversations, right? But that kind of labor that Black people have been living since they stepped onto this, soil here, is labor that white people now are too afraid to step into alone. And that's why we're having this. And the whole point is that it's got to be a container of love, because the labor seems so great that they think, just like a mom often does when she's ready to have a baby, nope, I don't want to do it. Nope, 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 right? Stop, because it gets too painful. And so that's really what the work has to be, is somehow understanding where all this comes from and untangling.
And I love you guys doing it. I mean, Veronica Conway and I have had the opportunity to sort of walk through this content. I mean, it started with her book, Coaching from the Black Perspective, right? Which was 20 years ago. Wow. And then the World Trust produced a movie, and I think I was telling you about it. Shakti Butler, one of our friends, she produced a movie called The Color of Whiteness, Making Whiteness Visible. And we've walked through a lot of these exercises in preliminary work, dealing with internalized racism, internalized trauma, genetic trauma, right? Having, even just as in the African-American experience, we can't even talk about what has happened beyond the borders of the ocean, right? We're just talking about the 376 years of slavery, the 40 years of, legal participation in society, the 20-something years of ascent, where we're talking about that part. We're not talking about the rest, which to me is disconnected, because if I can get people, and this is something that I really love to do, and I've done it with my children, which is probably why people say your children seem and feel different, is that I've always given them my identity beyond a slave ship, right? They knew where they came from. They also knew that they had an identity beyond a label, beyond a shade. And that their responsibility is to cultivate this individual entity called identity within themselves. And if they show up, if something shows up in the emotional space, that is purely your responsibility to examine that. You can have all the feelings you want. Temper tantrums, fall out, scream, yellow, great. But those are yours. And you need to have that on your own. And I'm not going to stop you from having that. But when you are ready to participate in a conversation, right, let me hear what you have to say. But it has to be a conversation that makes sense. So I think that makes the difference. So as you guys are moving forward, you're the next iteration, right, of work that many of us so painstakingly wanted to do. And I know that healing the trauma at the cellular level is the answer. And a lot of the things that Veronica is doing moving forward, that I'm supporting her in, is about really getting into that trauma level energy and unpacking it. And I would love to see what would happen when you guys connect with her, with the Global Diaspora Black Summit, right? And have this conversation out loud at that level. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then even the conversations around femicide, right, that we've been having. It's so critical.
Yeah.
And it, like I said, for those of you who are seeing this for the first time, for those of you who are just wondering who are these two women on the screen, individually, they are some bad chicks. I'm just letting you know. Okay? Yeah. Because not too many people can roll with me if you have a weak stomach, because there's a lot of directions that I move, a lot of ways that I move, because I'm not here to do broadcasting. I'm not here for another red carpet. I'm here to see something that was here shift and change, and us look at it here, make a decision about it, watch it shift and change as it gets here, right? I'm for transformation. So I know if you were watching the beginning of this, and thank you guys for being here with me. I love you. I love you so much.
Thank you for having us.
If you guys, don't you feel that? I just love you guys. It's so real and rich. Right?
It is.
No empty calories.
No empty calories.
None.
No.
If you watched at the beginning of this broadcast, you saw this amazing trailer. And this is LaShawn Lyric, right? This is her story. Coming on. She's sharing her story. And she's watched me watch her, right? She's watched me watch her release the sound bites of her being raped at 7 years old, and different things. Excuse me. dryness of Vegas. But what you didn't know is the reason why I emphasize this. Being raised by a single mother in the hood, I never met a man who was not a predator. And this is going to sound harsh to some people, but by the age of 10 years old, I must have been molested and felt up by every man except for my grandfather that I came into contact with because of a rape culture within our community. And that rape culture comes from a lack of identity and a lack of honor. And until we have these conversations out loud, that will never be unpacked. Never. So I support the work you do, my beautiful Lyric, because someone has to tell the story, right? And someone has to be willing to let other women tell the story, because until we do that, it's going to be something that we go, yeah, I need to write a check about human trafficking. Okay, I'm going to write that check. But you and I are in this work every day, right? You guys get my little Cash App beggings when I'm going, please send money over here so we can feed these girls in the shelter, right? I need to feed them. Look, this is the truth of life. These women were prostitutes. And they didn't just wake up one day and say, when I grow up, I want to become a prostitute. Things happen. And so if we have a way to help them unpack even the trauma. And I have met 2 women in my whole life dealing with talking to prostitutes and everything else that actually were happy to be prostitutes. Nothing happened to them. They just like the money. But out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women that I've spoken to, most of the time, somewhere within them, something said, you're not worth anything else. Yeah. We get to unpack that. And so thank you that we get to premiere and debut her movie on our TV network. And we're going to come together and make sure we promote it. Now, this conversation that we're having today is the beginning of many. I'm hoping on Tuesdays, I think that's what you and I agreed to, Lyric, if possible. We will continue the SheCon conversation because it needs to happen as we support the economy of women. So what am I asking people to do? Within our SheCon community, we actually have 70-something women empowerment organizations that we're partnered with. Each one of you have venues, you have stages, you have events that are going on, and you see someone who is showcased week by week on our stage, our virtual stage here, that I convict you to call them and book them. Because I always reference my grandmama and my mama, who said that if you follow a stupid person home, another stupid person answers the door. When you put that in reverse, you follow a really smart and inspirational person home, most likely they're hanging with people who are like-hearted. And I consider that these women are powerful, wonderful assets to the community at large and in the world. And I get to work with them in production. We're working also on another production reality show. And the more I write this show, the more it hurts my feelings that I can't write it for everyone. I don't know if that makes sense. I keep saying that one is me, that one is me, that one is me. And we cannot have more examples for young girls to see themselves, especially as I'm here in Vegas doing all this cute stuff, right? We had the Country Music Awards last night, for the first time. Never experienced that before. I never experienced that ever. Grammys, BET Awards, Latin Awards even, but not the Country Music Awards. And to see how protective, I'm going to say it real plain, and I hope I don't offend anybody. My daughter's good friend is considered one of the most popular or up-and-coming country singers in the industry. He's very peculiar, and you know that he has to be very peculiar to be good friends with my daughter. He is a white man, and she was getting ready to go out in her punky best self, and he said, I'm going to tell you the truth, Kai. Wear what you want to wear. I love it. But when you walk into that room, I'm walking with you as well as my team. Because as a Black woman on the Country Music Awards, okay, they're going to make some judgments that will hurt my feelings. So you're not going to go without me. I'm going to stand with you. Right? And that meant so much to me. And they wrote a song together just at 2:00 in the morning, basically about, we just want to be who we are. We don't want to be your label. It's so beautiful. But that was a whole different environment for me. I can say it should be this, it should be that. We're talking about the Country Music Awards. We're talking about the #1 genre in the world, actually. Country music, did you know, is one of the largest genres. That's our biggest export. Country music is America's #1 export internationally. Okay? So that means people's perspective of us as a nation comes from those songs and that lifestyle. I never thought about it until I walked into the company in a sea of cowboy hats and a whole bunch of Texan drowls. I was like, oh, Lord. There's like a Confederate flag on this man's tuxedo jacket. I wish I was joking. I couldn't stop staring at it. And he was smirking at me like, yeah, it's a Confederate flag. What you got to say about it, sweetie? And my daughter was sort of shocked, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, you know what I love about life cycles? That man had to be 80 years old. He ain't gonna live much longer. And so he smirked at me and he looked at my daughter like, oh my God, what is that? An alien? Like, what is that? And I just sort of walked past him and he wouldn't move out of the way. And then security came and got her. It was like how God sort of navigated the situation where he was just like, who are you people? And security comes to get her and says, I am Kaya's here. Excuse you. And I was like, God, you're so good with that. And I love that. You know, but it told me we have a lot of freaking work to do. And we have to move aggressively. We have to move together as one. So I want to thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I know there might be some more people. I don't know if Andrea is still back there. Is she still in the green room? We might just want to say hello. We only gave the link to about 5 or 6 people. Everybody else is watching by Facebook or wherever else you shared it. But the rest is going to be watched again on Friday on Connect Your City TMTV. So in closing, what I want to say is that everyone, please look up Jen Buck. Please look up Desiree B. Stevens. Please look up Ms. Lyric, the Lyrical Beast. And know that we're representing different organizations here. You have the SheCon, which is a fiscal empowerment organization, not just an empowerment organization. Fiscal empowerment organization. Our job is to talk about money and women and how we can make our communities and economies better for our children, for the next generation, because that's what we care about as women. And Miss Lyric, Shepowerment movement. Do you want to say something about Shepowerment?
Yes, Shepowerment is here to help bring women's stories to life. We are here to support other business owners. We are here to be a real sisterhood that you can depend on and count on in a place where you can authentically be yourself and be received.
Love you.
I love you.
Tell me more about her empowerment.
Me? Oh, you went out on me. I didn't hear any of that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm really not sleeping on the job over here, I swear. So, so I actually have an organization. As a professional speaker, I also have online courses that I offer, and I have affiliates, other women who come in and bring their online courses to that particular learning platform. And so that is actually called the Her Story, Lyric, Her Story Collaborative. And I let women bring their courses there for free, because to me, it matters that women get amplified and we share the resources that we have. And I push their names and content out to my client base, which is 24 years old. You know, it's a long standing client base. So it's a great place if you want to start developing yourself, getting low barrier to entry training and development. It doesn't cost you $1,200, which a lot of these courses will cost. upwards of $1,200. It's actually low cost barrier for people who don't have organizations that are investing in their learning and development. And so I created this space so that we can all get in for as low as $20, and we can start getting the help we need to start getting ourselves moving in the direction that we want.
Love it, love it, love it. And what I love about, in particular about that, like I think about all the painstakenness that we go through in training certain things or learning certain things. I mean, to bring those classes into like the collective so that everyone sort of has the same information. I think that's critical.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been sort of really shifting a lot of my work towards is labs, not information, because you can get information on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But to be accountable and say for 2 hours, we're going to do this content and I'm going to be here with you. And if you have any questions, we're here. We're going to get it done. That's more valuable to me than any book or whatever else you can give me. So to have that information readily available, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Ms. Desiree B. Stevens, Sage and was it Sage and Selenite?
No, it's Selenite and Sage, and that is like my counseling and coaching practice, but it falls underneath the umbrella of the Make Shift Happen network. And what I do there, and all of it can be found on my website, which is the same as my name, but within Make Shift Happen, we have a collective community that is similar to how Diana has going on, or Lyric, where you're supporting other people. Inside of Make Shift Happen is a community with different leaders running different parts for healing. So you have decolonization work, you have epigenetic and alchemy grounding practices, you have inner child shifts, you have activism work, and it's all in like this one place, again, with a low cost barrier. Each group everything's under, like, if you got into all groups, it would be under $50 a month.
Wow.
Just to support those spaces, like, right? Like I can't ask people to get outside of supremacy culture and not give them a place to land, right? That's that energy that keeps them there. Like, but what does it look like on the other side? So Make Shift Happen is created for that space.
I love it. Well, thank you, ladies, for being with us today. And like I said, next Tuesday, we're probably going to continue the conversation, because what I want to do is keep building up to the live event. So if you can follow me on my vision to do virtual, then we land live someplace, and we've already cultivated the audience, right?
Yeah.
Virtual, land live, cultivate the audience. We broadcast it, which means broadcast, and then we'll narrowcast it to individuals who need those services specifically. Really focusing on our me economy and our real economy, right? Because that's what fiscal empowerment's about. One thing that I've learned how to do during this very peculiar freaking time in our history is how to look at things from a different perspective, just like that, and how to challenge myself by asking the questions I used to ask myself and everyone else when I was a little girl, because I was an only child. Who said, who's the boss of you, and prove it, right? That's what I do about everything. And if I can't answer those questions precisely, that means there's something that needs to shift, right? Even in this time. If it's not valid, if it has no relevance, then shift, change it. And that's how you become fluid with your money. And that's what we're going to focus on, creating this beautiful real economy for women called the She Economy. Thank you, guys. I loved having this conversation.
Thank you. Loved it.
Thank you. I know I keep getting texts of women who wish they could be here, but that's okay. They can come next week. There we go. Any closing thoughts? Because I'm just like I'm in love with you guys. I know that sounds, like peculiar when people hear that nowadays, but I'm so in love with my friends. I'm so in love with my girlfriends around me. There's something about each one of you that every time I see your Instagram post or I see a TikTok or something, I'm like, oh my God, I got to show everybody this. Did you see this? Did you see this? Everyone needs to see this, right? And so if I'm not willing to pass it on, then it's not worth, right, even paying attention to. And you guys are my most shareable content. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and thank you so much for being here. And we'll be here next week.
But Blake promised me he's gonna get you out of here.
What are you talking about? We're in Atlanta. We don't know anybody here. What are we supposed to do?
Give me a second, Alexis, okay? I'm gonna figure something out.
No, I think it's time. We gotta talk. Okay? It's been kind of rough for all of us. Okay? So please understand, I'm on your side.
What a nice dog you have. Thank you. Can you help me find my mom? Yeah.
Girl, what is this? This ain't no club. I mean, this is like, what is you doing?
I got you, baby. Calm down.
Oh, what is this? I don't like it.
I told you to bring me some young, raw, fresh meat. What am I gonna do with this junk? Mess you something. I'll pay you good money. This is a multi-million-dollar business you running here.
How did you end up in that brawl, that fight anyway? You and Louis Blue and all this mess. You know there was an undercover cop in there. What the heck is going on with you?
I'm in charge.
Artists and entertainment.
Hey, you know,
Okay.
the ladies love me.
So you're in charge of all the sex trafficking next.
Oh no! But y'all better not make a sound. You're gonna be sorry. I better not hear a word because your mama ain't here.
All of this is a setup for money.
I'm gonna find out where you was at, and I'm gonna find out who you was with. If I find out you were part of this making little girls disappear crew, you and your boys.
Who in the world do you think you're talking to? I am your mother, and don't you forget that.
Oh man, can I play football? Can I play? Oh man, go, just in catch.
Come here. Yes.
Ma, stop. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not Dad.
D.A. Sasha Fierce.
Dirty Cop Walker.
Man, we out here working like slaves, bro. Word up. What you mean, folks? We working hard. Who drove my car in that? Put his pockets on ice. We need the organs.
Cheers. Cheers. Money, power, respect, life, loyalty over anything. Loyalty is everything. Everything.